Attorney General Pam Bondi is right now testifying in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. This is an annual Justice Department oversight hearing, but as you can imagine, she is facing some very stern questions from Democrats about sending National Guard troops to U.S. cities. So I want to play for you a bit of how she defended that move a little while ago. Listen to this.
We are replicating that tough on crime approach throughout this country. Under the leadership of Director Kash Patel, the FBI is doing outstanding investigative work to keep American people safe.
CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane has been following all of the action from Washington, and he joins me now. So, Scott, what else have you heard thus far?
If you're looking for a place to go, Vlad, to hear a very organized, continuous set of questions, the last place you want to go is a congressional hearing, because they are all over the map, as expected. Democrats have been asking the Attorney General about the potential release of Jeffrey Epstein case file. She really hasn't answered those questions declaratively. There's been no indication the Department of Justice is going to release more of what it has in its possession.
Hey everyone, Adam is here. So this is what just happened. Attorney General Pam Bondi stormed out of a meeting after a four-star admiral looked her in the eye and called her a disgrace. Not in a memo, not anonymously, but face-to-face, in front of witnesses. She couldn't sit there and take it, so she left. But here is what you need to understand.
Just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked it.
The time belongs to the gentleman from New York. We will give you a few more seconds. We will do that. But when you ask a question, the witness gets to answer. You may not like the answer, but she gets to answer.
The question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like the answer, Chairman.
Reclaiming my time.
Because it's honest. So he asked a 4-minute question.
Restore 45 seconds to Mr. Nadler, please, Mr. Chairman.
Answer.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me
Yeah, I did tell you, because we saw what you did in the Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
That admiral did not speak out of turn. He did not act impulsively. He spoke because the military has been watching what Pam Bondi has been doing to the Department of Justice. They have been watching her turn it into a political weapon. They have been watching her stonewall Congress. They have been watching her refuse to answer basic questions about the Epstein files, about National Guard deployments, about prosecutorial decisions that look less like justice and more like political revenge.
I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that.
I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath.
And they have had enough. The Admiral said what everyone in that room was thinking. And Bondi, instead of defending herself, instead of explaining her decisions, instead of doing anything that an Attorney General should do, ran away. This is not a story about a disagreement over policy. This is a story about an Attorney General who has lost the respect of the people who swore an oath to the same Constitution she swore to uphold. And when a four-star admiral calls you a disgrace, when he says it to your face, when you cannot even stay in the room to hear it, your career is over. The only question now is how long it takes for the rest of the country to catch up to what the military already knows. Let me take you inside that meeting, because the details matter and they reveal everything about why Pam Bondi is finished. The meeting was supposed to be routine. Senior officials from the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense gathered to discuss coordination on national security matters. These meetings happen all the time. Usually they are dry, procedural, forgettable. This one was anything but. The Admiral, whose name is not being released publicly, but whose rank and position have been confirmed by multiple sources, had been watching Bondi's performance in Congress. He had seen the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing where she refused to answer basic questions. He had seen her demand that Adam Schiff apologize for impeaching Trump instead of explaining DOJ transparency issues. He had seen her deflect, attack, and stonewall for hours, and he had had enough. When it was his turn to speak, the Admiral did not mince words. He looked at Bondi across the table and he said what countless career prosecutors, FBI agents, and military officers have been saying in private for months. He told her that she was a disgrace to the office she held. He told her that she had turned the Department of Justice into a political tool. He told her that her refusal to answer Congress, her refusal to release the Epstein files, her refusal to explain why National Guard troops were being deployed to Democratic cities while Republican cities with similar crime rates saw no deployments, all of it added up to one thing. She was not serving the country. She was serving one man, and that was a disgrace. The room went silent. People who have spent decades in government service, who have seen all kinds of political battles, who thought they were immune to shock, sat frozen. No one had ever seen anything like this. A 4-star admiral, the kind of officer who spends his entire career staying out of politics, who understands that the military serves the civilian leadership no matter what, had just broken every unwritten rule to tell the Attorney General of the United States that she was a disgrace. And Bondi, instead of responding with dignity, instead of defending her record, instead of doing anything that might restore some measure of respect, got up and walked out. She stormed out. She left the meeting. She could not even stay in the room. Now, you might be wondering what brought the Admiral to that moment. What did Bondi do that was so egregious that a career military officer felt compelled to break the chain of command and speak truth to power? The answer is everything. The answer is a pattern of conduct that has been building for months. Start with the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. Bondi sat there for hours, refusing to answer basic questions about DOJ decision-making. Senator after senator asked her about prosecutions that seemed politically motivated. They asked her why Trump allies received favorable treatment while Trump critics faced aggressive prosecution. They asked her why the Epstein files remained sealed, why the public couldn't see documents that might reveal the truth about a sex trafficker and his powerful associates. They asked her why National Guard troops were being deployed to Democratic cities in ways that looked less like law enforcement and more like political intimidation. And Bondi answered none of it. She deflected. She attacked. She demanded that Adam Schiff apologize for impeaching Trump. She treated congressional oversight like a personal insult to her and her president. Then there was the Epstein files themselves, over 3.5 million documents that the DOJ was supposed to release, documents that victims of Epstein's abuse have been fighting to see for years, documents that the American people deserve to see because Epstein was connected to powerful people across politics, business, and entertainment. Bondi refused to release them. She gave vague answers about ongoing investigations and protecting sources. But the investigation is over. Epstein is dead. The only reason to keep those files sealed is to protect the powerful people whose names appear in them. And those powerful people include Trump allies. That is not speculation. That is the logical conclusion when the Attorney General refuses to explain her reasoning. And then there are the National Guard deployments. Democratic-run cities like Chicago and Philadelphia and Los Angeles have seen National Guard troops deployed in ways that seem disproportionate to the crime rates. Republican-run cities with similar or worse crime statistics have seen no deployments. Bondi has refused to explain the criteria. She has refused to show the data. She has refused to demonstrate that these decisions are based on objective law enforcement needs rather than on the political affiliation of the mayor. The obvious inference is that the deployments are political. They are designed to punish Democratic leaders and create the appearance that Democratic cities are out of control. And when the Attorney General refuses to explain, the only conclusion is that there is no good explanation. The Admiral saw all of this. He saw an Attorney General who had turned the Department of Justice into a political weapon. He saw someone who refused to be accountable to Congress, who refused to be transparent with the American people, who treated her office as an extension of Donald Trump's personal legal defense, rather than as an institution of justice. and he decided that he could not remain silent. He decided that the oath he swore to the Constitution required him to speak. So he did. He called her a disgrace. And then she ran. Think about what that moment means. The military is the most hierarchical institution in American life. Officers are trained from their first day to respect the chain of command, to follow orders, to defer to civilian leadership. A four-star admiral does not break those norms lightly. He does not publicly humiliate the Attorney General unless he believes that the situation is so dire, so corrupt, so dangerous that silence has become complicity. And that is where we are. The military leadership has looked at what Pam Bondi is doing and concluded that she is a threat to the Constitution. That is what the Admiral said. That is what his words meant. And Bondi's response was to flee the room. Let me give you the broader context, because the Admiral's statement did not come out of nowhere. It is the culmination of a pattern that the military has been watching with growing alarm. Earlier, the Joint Chiefs of Staff issued a public statement saying they would not follow unlawful orders from the president. 14 four-star generals signed that statement. General Laura Richardson testified before Congress that Trump's conduct constitutes treason. More than 30 military bases reported that commanders were withholding support from Trump. The Pentagon locked Trump out of secure communications. And now a four-star admiral has called the Attorney General a disgrace to her face. The military is not just unhappy with the administration. The military is actively, publicly, institutionally rejecting the administration. And the reason is simple. The military swore an oath to the Constitution, not to the president. They understand that their duty is to protect the country, not to serve one man's political ambitions. And when they see an attorney general who has turned the DOJ into a political weapon, who refuses to answer Congress, who hides documents that the public deserves to see, who deploys troops for political purposes, they understand that the Constitution is under attack. And they understand that they have a duty to say something. So they did. The Admiral said it, and Bondi stormed out. Now let me break down what happens next, because the Admiral's statement is not going to be the end of this. It is going to be the beginning of the end for Pam Bondi. First, the story is going to leak. It already has. That is why you are hearing about it. The details of what the Admiral said, of Bondi's reaction, of the room going silent as she walked out, all of it is going to be reported. And the more it is reported, the more pressure builds. People are going to ask why a four-star admiral felt compelled to say that. They are going to ask why Bondi could not stay in the room and defend herself. They are going to ask what she is hiding. Second, Congress is going to renew its oversight efforts. The Senate Judiciary Committee is going to demand that Bondi return. They are going to ask her about the admiral's statement. They are going to ask her why a four-star officer called her a disgrace. And this time, Bondi is going to have to answer. She cannot storm out of Congress the way she stormed out of that meeting. She cannot run away from the cameras. She will have to sit there and explain herself. And if she stonewalls again, if she attacks senators again, if she refuses to answer again, the calls for her resignation are going to become deafening. Third, the military is going to face its own questions. The Pentagon is going to have to address whether the Admiral's statement was authorized. They are going to have to explain why a four-star officer felt compelled to speak out. And the answer is going to be that the military is deeply concerned about what is happening to the Department of Justice. That is going to make headlines. That is going to dominate news cycles. That is going to put even more pressure on Bondi. Fourth, the Epstein files are going to become the focus of renewed scrutiny. If the Admiral was willing to call Bondi a disgrace over this, people are going to want to know what is in those files. Journalists are going to dig deeper. Congress is going to demand more answers. Bondi is going to be forced to either release the files or explain why she is hiding them. And if she cannot explain, the conclusion is going to be that she is protecting powerful people. And that conclusion is going to destroy what is left of her credibility. Fifth, the National Guard deployments are going to be investigated. Congress is going to demand the data. They are going to demand the criteria. They are going to demand to know why Democratic cities are being treated differently than Republican cities. And Bondi is going to have to either provide that information or admit that the deployments are political. Either way, she loses. Let me give you the simple points so you understand exactly where this is headed. A four-star admiral called Pam Bondi a disgrace to her face during a meeting between DOJ and DOD officials. He said she had turned the Department of Justice into a political tool. He said her refusal to answer Congress, to release the Epstein files, and to explain National Guard deployments was unacceptable. Bondi stormed out of the meeting rather than defend herself. The Admiral's statement is the culmination of months of military resistance to the Trump administration. The Joint Chiefs refused to follow unlawful orders. General Richardson testified that Trump's conduct constitutes treason. 30 bases withheld support. The Pentagon locked Trump out of secure communications. The military has institutionally rejected this administration. Bondi's refusal to answer Congress about DOJ decision-making, the Epstein files, and National Guard deployments has created the appearance that she is hiding something. The Admiral said what many people have been thinking. She is not serving the country, she is serving one man. The fallout from the Admiral's statement is going to intensify congressional oversight. Bondi is going to be called back to testify. She is going to have to answer questions about why a four-star officer called her a disgrace. She cannot run away from that. The Epstein files and National Guard deployments are going to become the focus of renewed scrutiny. Bondi is going to have to either release the files and explain the deployments or admit that she is hiding something. Either way, her credibility is gone. Pam Bondi walked into that meeting as the Attorney General of the United States. She walked out as someone who could not face the truth about what she has done to the Department of Justice. A four-star admiral looked her in the eye and told her that she was a disgrace. And she had no response, no defense, no explanation. She could not even stay in the room. She got up and she left. And that exit, that moment, is going to define her career. Because when a military officer who has spent decades defending the Constitution calls you a disgrace, and you cannot even look at him and tell him he is wrong, you have already lost. You have already admitted that he is right. The Admiral spoke for the career prosecutors who have watched Bondi turn the DOJ into a political weapon. He spoke for the FBI agents who have seen their work corrupted by political considerations. He spoke for the military officers who have watched National Guard troops deployed for political purposes. He spoke for everyone who believes that justice should be blind, that the Attorney General should serve the country, not the President. And Bondi ran away from him. She ran away from the truth. And now the truth is going to catch up with her. So stay tuned, because the hearings are coming, the subpoenas are coming, the questions are coming, and Pam Bondi is going to have to answer them. She cannot storm out of Congress the way she stormed out of that meeting. She cannot run away from the cameras. She is going to have to sit there and explain why a four-star admiral called her a disgrace. And if she cannot explain, if she cannot defend herself, if she cannot offer any reason why she deserves to hold the office she holds, then the only question left is how long it takes for her to be forced out.